All right, boyos, chat. Good afternoon, day, evening. Oh my god, my headphones are unplugged. Okay, one sec. We're gonna hit the show ads to the Twitch viewers to kill the pre-rolls. I'm gonna quickly do my dailies. We're gonna do the Gemini Cup. Hello Dahlem, hello Random Perv, hello Lurkers, and whoever randomly clicked on this. God help me. We have our final round Gemini Cup. I'm just gonna do my dailies really quick because honestly this is just gonna be a really short stream because it's a best of one. It's an RNG fest. We made it to Group B finals. Oh hey, it's Tam Opera O. And it's on the same course. We're gonna bring the same golshi we're gonna be running in Gemini Cup. Cause we can. Yeah, I'm planning on making this pretty short. Honestly, my mind right now is like fully on the game dev stuff. I want to refactor a bunch of things. And yeah. Yeah, I'm getting a little worried that I'm spending too much time working on things that, like, when you really want to be getting, like, a playable thing in front of people as soon as possible. But my justification is that I'm trying to build good code. That is a way too early cooldown. I'm trying to build reusable systems that I can take between projects, that I can, you know, use on multiple projects. Same as, I guess I should have been doing in the past with, like, the game jams and stuff, but better late than never, I guess. I've already done, like, a click and drag system before, so realistically I should probably be just looking at that code, but, like, the fact that I've done it before is probably enough to do it in, like, a reasonable amount of time. The problem is there's just a lot of systems that are interconnected, and I'm spending like hours planning out what I'm gonna do before we're gonna do it. And I guess that's just the speed at which I can go and make a system that is not poorly made, that is flexible enough for future things potentially. At first, break yourself some crackers and peanut butter, crackers and cheese with pickle slices. Okay, I don't have pickles. I do have cheese. I don't have crackers. I do have peanut butter, but I already ate peanut butter granola bar. I had a hot dog. I had the peanut butter granola bar. I am caffeinated because I drank 2 20-ounce cups of Coke Zero, which is roughly equivalent to 1 cup of coffee. We're in the late race. Golshi's starting to accelerate. No straightaway spurt, but it doesn't matter. It's as long as we're not blocked, we're good against an NPC race. Look at that speed differential. Oh my god. Tam Opera is Pace Chaser. Oh hey, and Meisho Dodo's here. Oh, and Manhattan Cafe is here too. Doesn't even matter. we're miles away. We're light years away. If only these poor NPCs had any idea of the horrors of Group A Round 2 of the Gemini Cup. Give your excuses, have snackies ready to go, or bad dog. Do I care? I think my plan for this stream was to have it be like exactly 20 minutes. If you're watching the VOD, you should probably just skip ahead to the point in the finals. I mean, unless you actually want to hear me yap or something. God, imagine that. Okay, good job, Golshi. I'll speed. Honestly, I think I'm just gonna like speed through this whole thing, all the dailies and stuff. But I will. Oh my god! Finally, tachyon star pieces. Oh, the Super Creek star pieces. I need those because I'm not pulling the trainee banner. Honestly, what even am I waiting for? Same sky's up now. I don't have pity. Is the main reason I'm not pulling. It's mathematically inefficient to pull when you don't have enough for the pity. And I know there's like some meta banners coming up later. Okay, we'll just speed through our dailies first. I should probably do the team trials first, not the jam meet. I mean, we'll do that. That's gonna be the big event here. I'm just pulling your chain, you know, dangling the reward in front of you guys. We're doing some Pavlovian conditioning here. Who would willingly listen to a dog? No pity for Neo, just shame. Neo. Hello, JPZ. Hello. Honestly, I'm just gonna speed through most of it. Okay, it's literally one race. Literally, how much content can I even make out of one race for Champion Finals? I mean, yeah, I could do doing career runs. Honestly, I don't care at this point. I've had a good time with Musume. I still think there's something interesting in how... Oh my god, finally, 5 carats. In how they design this fractal series of slot machines where the result of one slot machine has an impact on the results of all the future slot machines. But yeah, I've had a enjoyable time. Hi, how are you? I'm mentally thinking about code and game dev, and this is like a distraction to me. Sorry, that sounded a little mean in thinking of like stream itself as a distraction. No, I'm thinking of Musume as the distraction. I was honestly thinking about doing some coding on stream for the first time in a while, which I kind of haven't been doing much because I know that it's, you know, gonna distract me and make it a little harder to do stuff. This last one. We'll grab our things. I don't need anything else here. Use up our team trials points. Hey, we're in promotion range. Yay, we're gonna go up to class 6 and then we're gonna go back down to class 5. Because that's what happens until I finally get a 3rd dirt horse. You know who else is coding? Me? Yo, nice. Nice. I love computers. I love code. I love good, clean code. I don't love my messy ass older projects, and this project is gonna be totally different this time. You just gotta believe. You just gotta trust. I mean, I kind of have to trust myself, and I'm not sure how much I can really trust myself. It's kind of like every time. That's kind of like an inevitable thing with code, probably, is like coming back to it and thinking like, what the hell was I thinking, man? Why is this like this? Trust? You really... Do I really look like the guy you can trust? Oh my god, the nice nature one. What an upset. Alright. Holy shit, a new high score! Yay, we actually did something. Oh my god, okay. Top class. Top class. Dirty as his code. Oh yeah, speaking off stream, I have been thinking a little bit more about outfit designs and stuff. But I should probably just be like sketching them and getting like a really rough draft up before I'm like thinking about, ooh, the vision in my head. Ooh, yeah. Thing in my head looked good. Yeah, this is totally gonna be great. And then you actually make it and then you find out that it fucking sucks. That's just the way things go, isn't it? That's just how this works. That's just how the entire process works. Apparently, these are... this vodka already has the stats that you want for the upcoming mile thing, because like 600 stam and then 300 guts gets you a certain thing. I didn't get like all the meta skills, so I wasn't like looking up what all the meta skills were for this, but it's just a pretty good run. I also got vodka to 3 stars after the thing, but this vodka that I trained was a 2-star. Alright, we'll just skip through these. I love spending hours on code just for when I test it. Unity runs out of memory and crashes. Oh yeah, you know what else I've been doing off stream? I've been reading the book that I mentioned last stream. What was it? What's it called? Something about something. It's called something game design. There's definitely the word game design in the title there somewhere. But there was a whole chapter about marketing in terms of like, does this game have a market when you're like trying to come up with the idea. And this other idea that I found really interesting was, so obviously a big game developer has more resources. They can make a fancier, prettier game because they have more money to throw at it, to throw at artists and such, and development time and hiring skilled workers to work on the game, right? But to balance this out, actually, the advantage that the small creators have, smaller, more independent teams, is they have freedom. They can innovate. They can do whatever they want. And so that is the idea of that's sort of like the trade-off, the balance there, that allows like an outsider to occasionally overcome the big industry leaders and make a really good amount of money on the thing they make. And it got me thinking about, there's a lot of discussion I see around VTubing, about the cost of VTubing, about getting started, right? About how, if you don't have thousands of dollars to throw on a super fancy model, then you're at a disadvantage, which is true. You are at a disadvantage in terms of like popular appeal if you don't have like a super expensive fancy model that looks really nice. Not that that's the only thing that matters when it comes to entertaining, as a streamer. You can find success as like a faceless streamer and all that. You can find success with a relatively cheap looking model, or a model that looks decent but was actually cheap, or a model that you made yourself and all that. But it got me thinking about the whole, like, how that sort of relates. How if you are small, if you haven't like found your niche, the idea of like finding your niche in content creation. Okay, I did a thing that seems to have an audience that it seems to be an underserved pocket of the market. It was like, oh, all this discussion is like really relevant to content creation as well as it has game dev, right? It's the two things are relevant to each other, right? Male? Yes, male. Yeah. The other balancing factor that the book talks about is... Oh, hey, straightaway spurt. The other balancing factor in that equation is that there will be a larger market for a certain thing, but as a result, there will be more competitors in that field. Now, as for VTubing, I'm not sure how well that tracks, because it's not like every person VTubing is treating it as, a competitive business thing, where you're trying to make it as a streamer and, make a living income, because that's already like a super high bar in terms of streaming. But, but I forgot where I was going with this. But theoretically, if there's more of an audience for a certain thing, then the market should result in more products being made that would serve that niche. So if the market is for cute anime girl VTuber, then theoretically there would be more supply of cute anime girl VTuber. Is that the actual case? I have no idea. I guess you'd have to look at the statistics. I feel like in VTubing, it's less likely that that's true than it is in game dev, where probably a larger percentage of games being made are probably trying to find commercial success, compared to people who want to do VTubing just as a hobby, and also are competing with people who want to, do it as more than just a hobby and like want to make it's like a business thing for them. Not that there's anything wrong with either way of doing it, right? You can make of it whatever you want. Streaming or content creation or VTubing or whatever. It got me thinking about if you want to succeed as an outsider, then the advantage you have is freedom. If you want to succeed as a content creator and you haven't like found your niche yet, then your advantage is that you can fuck around and experiment and do things that other people aren't doing. You can zag when they're zigging, and so you can try and find the niche. Alrighty. Nice nature. Alright, here we go. We're in the finals. Everyone's great mood. We're the #1 fave. Oh, that's scary. Wait. What do we got? The debuffer, of course. We got Mayo and Tachyon. We got a Teo with an S long, 1100 speed, 726 power. 1 gold recovery, which is Bofa. 700 stamina, is looking quite low on stamina. We got another debuffer. Only stamina debuff is Stamina Eater. We got the other golshi. 823 speed, 563 power, 1114 stam, S long. 3 gold recoveries is... yeah, that definitely got in stamina. She's not beating us on speed or power, even with the S long, I think. She does have straightaway spurt. So I think our power advantage is going to be pretty relevant here. Naruto Taishin, the meta runner, stamina eater, doesn't have the acceleration skill, looks like. But there is her unique. S long will help out with the relatively low speed. We got a debuffer, Nice Nature. Sharp Gaze. And Mystifying Murmur is a medium skill, so it won't proc. Well, here we go. Here, can we read the Twinkle Monthly special issue? VTuber fitness instructor. Yeah, you can fill a niche that has not been filled. Now, there's kind of a wide world of content creation, but it also sort of feels like a lot of people, myself included probably, are sort of doing the same thing. I don't think any of my gaming streams are very innovative. I'm kind of just doing the thing and maybe yapping, but again, like yapping itself isn't like the innovative new thing that is really gonna help you stand out unless you're really good at it, or you're really funny, or you have a clip that goes viral. And that's sort of tying into the whole luck thing, because, you know, luck is absolutely a factor, but in reality, I think another way to think about it is that reality as a whole is extremely complex, and there's a whole lot of factors that we kind of just have no control over, and the sum of all those factors can be thought of as, or described as, luck. Whatcha? Jeet Kune Do. Alright, total win rate of 40%. Exactly 40%. Air Groove, the debuffer. Any secret strategies for the final race? You expect me to tell you? Not that revealing it would make me any less likely to win. Teo. I want all my fans to watch already. Good luck to us all. But it does look like we are in a very good position, but RNG is always a factor. Alright, let's watch. Are you winning, son? I mean father, I mean brother, I mean... Hello, Luna Gladius. Hello. You're about to watch us. We're in a favored position here, actually. Probably because we made it to Group A, but then we fell to the Group B finals. But RNG is always a factor. There's anything can happen here. Let's just pray that we don't get blocked. But if we do, then our Tachyon can hopefully do something. I didn't see how many pace chasers, but it looks like there's a ton of late surger debuffers and closers. So kind of unlikely that our Tachyon will proc her unique. Look at that worried expression. Here we go. I know how the debuffer got number 3. Here we go. I think our biggest advantage is stamina over all the non-golshi runners. And our advantage over the golshi is speed and power. So we're in a pretty good position here. Tachyon looks like she was chosen as the lead because there are no front runners. So it's going to be extremely... She's probably not going to proc her unique in time. Didn't get any late starts, which is good. However, to counteract the lack of the unique proccing, she is just in a good position because she's in the front. You mean dog? Dog. What the dog doing? God help us. Our Tachyon's rushed, even more likely to run out of stamina here and probably be overtaken by the opponent's golshi. Don't think anyone else was really meeting the stamina requirements, but could be wrong. Golshi in fourth means she won't proc her unique, but if she's in a good enough position, she doesn't need to because it's a mid-race thing and not a late race thing. Dog week third. Swing Maestro procs. Long corners, late surger corners for our nice nature. She's the VTuber, so it doesn't matter that much, but... Alright, Golshi in fourth, Tachyon in first, third position, proccing. I didn't see a cooldown, but I did see the go home specialist, I think. That's the other reason we could fail, is if our skills don't proc. It looks like we're well positioned. We got at least two of the gold recoveries. We hit straight away spurt. It's really good for us. Nothing to block us in front. But the other golshi coming up along the side. Lots of debuffs coming in. Tachyon's still holding as my golshi and the other golshi are accelerating. Alright, and golshi takes over the Tachyon. Still in a good position. Opponent's golshi catching up because she's the only one who had the stamina. She can't catch up to our golshi. We're chilling. We're chilling. She's chilling. She's speed. She has the higher speed. She has the higher power. It's easy for us. And we got first place in Group B. We did not get screwed over horribly by RNG, and with those stats, I sure would hope not. That wouldn't happen. But we win by 4 lanes. It's very nice. And a distance to everyone else. Yeah! Whoopoo! Great job, team. Yay! Group B first. I like that it gives you those numbers, even though that's not really how it works. It's time! Alright, GG. Our Tachyon even got third. Good for her. Alright, we'll claim our Group B rewards. It's 1,000 carats, not even as much as the Group A. But there we go, that's it. We're over. We're over. What do you even get in Group A? 2,000, 1,500. Okay, so third place is equivalent to the first place in Group B. But you don't get Gemini Gold. Alright, good enough. Good enough. We'll take it. Oh, man. Alrighty. Rewatch the cosplayer do the golshi victory animation over and over again. Alright, good night. Uma Musume. I guess theoretically, I could do my dailies, but I think I'm good. I think I'm good. Alright, we'll just go to chatting or something. I don't know. Or I could just end stream here. It's literally been like 20 minutes. No, it's over. It's over. No more stream. That's it. 20 minutes. That's all you got. That is one race to be commented over. It wasn't even... it was a little iffy with the opponent's golshi catching up there, but we did it. We made it. 24 minutes. Nice. Man, what else do I want to stream? I guess Car Mechanic Simulator. I kind of don't want to do it in the same stream slot though for like YouTube bot reasons. So I guess I'll chat until I feel like, or you know, I could do other than chatting. Where's my thing? All right, you guys are gonna have like zero context for this. We can do this. We can discuss my plans for game dev related stuff, but for code that you guys haven't even seen. Okay, so I made some code for clicking and dragging pieces. Although what it really does is like you click and then it holds it and then it's like in a held slot. But the problem is that logic is in this class called board tile map. And I really want to separate that out. One, to make it more general so that we can drag things that aren't just this board piece class here. And we can drag like literally anything, which is probably how I should have had it set up in the first place. The problem is we still want some of the logic from board tile map here because I want it to like snap to the tile and show a preview in the tile editor layout thing. I understand that 100%. I could always send you an old PS2 game that was stupid but fun. You know what else is fun? You know what else is fun? Talking about the stock market and the Fed meeting announcing a 25 basis point rate cut today, and the stock market going completely sideways and not moving at all because it was all priced in. It's all priced in. Efficient market hypothesis, more like omniscient market hypothesis. The market knows everything. All hail the market. Anyway, what do we have here? Current logic and board tile map. I guess I could just show you guys some of the code. Should I? Do I care? I don't know. I already have some like mouse highlighting code. Oh god. Right, okay. So currently I have this class called board tile map. Board tile map has some code that calls a highlight function on this class board piece, but I really want to separate these things out so that we can use it in anything we want. So the plan is to make one a draggable component. The draggable component will just have two little things that calls like a global signal that will be received by the draggable manager. The draggable manager is going to handle when you're dragging a piece, then it's following your mouse. When you let go of a piece, what happens? It calls a function or something. Maybe that will be on the draggable component. When you when you have like specific logic you need. So in this case, we're gonna have like a board piece class, we're gonna have a goal piece class, and there's gonna be like specific slots that you can drag the things into, and we want to be able to handle those differently. But again, like we're trying to make this as reusable as possible, which means you probably want to separate out this logic into like a more modular system, which would feel really nice once it's complete. That's how I'm thinking about it. Does this spark joy? Does this spark joy in the code base? Does this make me want to work with the code base more? I think if we added a feature like this, it would feel really good, because then I would have the confidence that, okay, I'm working on a completely different project, but I know it's going to have, I click and drag a thing to somewhere else. We can reuse the draggable component. We can reuse the draggable manager if we separate out this logic and even this logic. So I'm trying to think, can we make like a modular system where there's like some shared code for you click and hold to drag an object and it's handled in draggable manager? Either that, or you move that logic to draggable component, which honestly it might make more sense. But then each draggable thing is keeping track of its own, like, okay, am I being dragged? We're gonna move its position, which actually makes way more sense. Actually, so this draggable manager should probably just be all the game-specific logic. So it'll be the board piece stuff, the goal piece stuff, the passive piece stuff, the cell logic. Honestly, do we even need a manager? I'm trying to think. do we need this manager here? Or can we just have... How much logic can we move into a draggable component? Probably, so you move the mouse. The problem is we want to override that behavior with board tile map logic. There's a tile editor thing. Sparks a lot of creativity juices. I now need a change of hands. Oh, I love code so much. Neo does not spark joy. Okay, then throw me away. Go ahead. Leave me. Leave me. Do it. Toss me in the garbage. Wait for the garbage truck to come and take me away to the landfill. Do a big hole in the ground. What are you doing? Yeah, the spoiled milk. You wanna actually, yeah, you wanna put that in a plastic bag or something so it doesn't leak. We'll make Neo spark joy with proper training. Okay, train me, trainer. Hit the speed button with 99% failure because there's 4 rainbow. It's quad rainbow. Nothing ever happens. I'm all in. Okay, let's think about this. How much logic can we move into draggable component? Probably the it follows mouse. The problem is we want to override that it follows mouse behavior on when we're mousing over the board tile map. So how does that work? It probably means that we have to keep the draggable things follows mouse logic separate from the draggable component. So the draggable manager will handle this, which is exactly the design that I've already written. You know, maybe there was a good reason I wrote it this way. Maybe we'll just go with the design that as written. So the draggable manager will have a lot of game-specific logic to it, which feels a little weird, which is why I was considering adding like some kind of modular system. What would that look like? We make an interface of like a draggable thing handler. We make something drag handler for the board tile map. And so the board tile map drag handler will... Oh, God. We make a board tile map drag handler. The board tile map drag handler checks the mouse position and the thing being dragged. And if there's a match, then we do some logic ourselves to handle the drag, and then we return something saying that we handled it and don't propagate it down. If we don't do board tile map handler, that's a long ass name. Board tile map drag handler. If we're holding a board piece and we're mousing over the tile map, then we use a board tile map logic. That means we need a drag handler interface. Drag handlers is an array of drag handler, and then drag handler is a thing. Oh God, what does this have? Something like func handle drag. But then it needs the position. I guess it would also, you could call it drag position, whatever. Drag position. It's a vector 2. And the drag object. I guess we'll just do like node or something. Node 2D. Node. Actually, oh wait, but then shouldn't we just be using the drag object's position? No, because that's not necessarily going to be the mouse position. Because there's going to be an offset. On drag, set position offset. Each frame process. Oh my god. The fuck. Yeah, oh god. What the fuck am I doing? I don't care what percentage of failure I have, as long as it's less than 99.99%, I have a 0.01% chance of being successful. 99% of gamblers quit just before they make it big. 99% of day traders, of options traders. Did you guys hear the story about the Indian options market? About how there's more trading going on in the Indian options market than there is like actual investing in stocks? And how there's like one hedge fund or investment firm or whatever that figured out that there was a ton of money to be made off of Indian retail options traders. And they were manipulating the market a huge amount, and they got, I forget what happened to them, or if they got fined or anything. I don't even know what happened, but that's a wild story. Oh my god. It's so funny that like options were, I guess, meant to be used as a way to like offset losses, as a way to like hedge your existing positions, and then people use them as degenerate gambling and leverage. Oh, people making and losing life-changing amounts of money. Huh. Huh. Oh. Oh god. Okay. How's this work? We have a drag handlers array. We have a... We finally have abstract classes in Godot 4.5. We can make this an interface, or make an abstract class. Or, I forget the exact logic. I forgot the exact syntax, but whatever, it's an abstract class. It has a function handled drag, and it returns a bool, but the problem is, like, we're probably going to need a lot of other info. How does the drag handler control things outside of the thing? Okay, like the drag handler, in the case of the tile map, right? We need to snap to the tile. In the case of, I guess, anything else, I'm not sure you even need. I think we literally only need this interface for the board tile map, because we just want to move the thing to snap it to the grid, right? And maybe also set some logic on the board. So then the drag handler can be a node. It can have a reference to the like export var tile map is a board tile map, right? And like the drag handler gets a reference to the board tile map, so it can set whatever stuff it needs. Huh. How's this work? Okay, and then you let go of the dragging object, and what the? Then what? How does that work? God dang it. Humans will turn anything into a gambling opportunity. Let's go gambling! Aw, dang it. Aw, dang it. Let's be financially responsible. I can't stop winning. I can't stop winning. Uh, 99% of investors quit. 99% of options traders quit right before they beat the market. Or something like that. Okay. Oh, how do we get to finance again? I guess I just love talking about finance, even though it's not like something I'm very professionally involved in, but it's something that, you know, is relevant. It's relevant to all our lives, really. I mean, money, having or not having debt. I mean, it's also something that's very, very dependent on factors that would be, you could call luck. Just being born in the right household. There's also probably a lot of taboos around like just talking about money in general, because it invites a lot of bad feelings. But it's important, so I like talking about it. Biggest factor for price inflation is debt. Yeah, well, why is paying for so popular? Well, I should know that like psychologically it feels easier, better. Oh, I can pay $3 now on my burrito and then pay it for. I can finance a fucking burrito because eating out has gotten so goddamn expensive. That comes from people unwilling to use cash. Yeah. Fucked up that, you know, credit card companies have such a stranglehold over US financial transactions that they can offer that you are literally putting yourself at a disadvantage by not using credit cards with like credit card rewards. But the entire system as a whole costs us money because they're making bank off of interchange fees. And, you know, that cost is at some point reflected in the actual product that you're paying for, even in donations to streamers and stuff, right? If you're donating on YouTube, let's say YouTube, you're donating, YouTube takes the 30%. Part of that 30% is going to cover like the individual transaction costs, which is probably why Twitch has it set up with how bits work, where you pay upfront for a certain amount of bits. But the way it's nominated actually is that you pay the extra cost to Twitch up front, I believe. And then the main thing that what's the word? The main thing that disadvantages me on Twitch as a tiny streamer is the cut on subs, I believe. Because it's 50-50 at the base rate, and then it's 60-40 for partner, and then 70-30 for partner plus. I think that's how it works. I actually haven't looked into it too closely. I just hear that about the whole system. But anyway, in that whole system, right, you are making a financial transaction at some point, and then that transaction is being facilitated by a payment processor company, and the payment processor company is taking their cut. They're taking their you know, could be 1% to 2% or something. I don't know. Could be more. They probably have a deal with companies as large as Twitch, though. If you're donating through Stream Elements, right, then Stream Elements is more direct with the fees. And I think PayPal also, or like other donation things, you know, they're taking a percentage of the transaction, and then I think also a flat fee on Stream Elements. So, you know, more tiny transactions, you're giving more money to the middlemen than one large transaction. Neil's fault. Get him! I won't claim to know that. What I will claim is inflation was much lower back in my day, and we didn't have credit cards as often. Well, the other thing is just money printing, right? There's all this talk about, oh, government's like $1 billion in debt. Like 40, I don't know, 34 trillion or something in debt. But they're just going to print more money to pay that off eventually. I mean, in theory, worse things can happen. But they're probably going to be just printing money to pay for it. We saw it during COVID. It's probably why a lot of people are antsy about that. Moving to gold and stuff like that. We've seen gold go up a lot in the past year. The other part of that was the US dollar getting weaker. Oh my god, we're talking about finance more. I'm so distracted. I can't think about code when I'm thinking about the way that money is transferred between people in the economy. Cash printing not help, but a way in the rate inflation would be use cash over credit cards. How does that work though? Well, yeah, the interchange fees that they're charging. The problem is that like okay, I respect or just use debit. I respect companies or businesses that charge an additional fee for using cards because they're not like hiding the fee. I see that as, it's annoying for me as like a consumer, but I see that as a net benefit for society because it moves us, it makes us at least slightly more aware of the cost of using these companies as payment processors. Because like they're making us aware of the cost and also incentivizing you to not use the thing that is going to cost them extra money. So I can respect that. Debit doesn't help. You still pay an additional fee for debit, right? Because it's about the payment processing more than like the use of credit. I mean, the credit, they're also making money off of, you know, take from the poor, give to the rich. They're making money off of, you know, lower income consumers who are more likely to go into debt and be forced to pay ridiculous 22, 23, 30% APRs or whatever. You don't owe anything after spending money. If you pay off a credit card by the due date, if you pay off the statement balance by the due date, then you do not owe extra money. In fact, you're getting the credit card rewards and you're not owing any extra money. So it is in your best interest, you personally, to use a credit card. The other thing you get is like fraud protection and stuff. The problem is, like, for all of society, we are paying collectively the interchange fees of like making these payments go through, of the payment processing. And I know in Europe or some places they've like limited the amount of like credit card rewards that they can give, and as a result it's limited like the interchange fees they can charge, or they might have also limited that as well. I don't know how it is in Canada. But what I do know is in the US that I can get like a certain percent back on my credit card, and I am like fully aware that part of that 2% is coming from the actual transaction that the credit card company is making money off of. My entire family uses credit. They are all in debt. I'm the only debit user. I have no debt. Yes, not being in debt is good. But like hypothetically, if you have enough to pay off your credit card balance in full, then you're not spending money on interest. If you are in debt, then that's bad. That is like the first thing that you should be trying to pay off is credit card debt, because it's usually like absurdly high interest rate debt. Only reason gold increase is when people are panicking, the banks will fail. In China, that's why gold skyrocketed and they were buying so much. If you look into it, it was mostly civilian, not industrial. Canada, it's a flaming shithole of ice. If you ever wonder, is it better in Canada? The answer is typically no. Okay. Noted. Okay. God. But yeah. Man. There's so many freaking... I see this opinion on the internet a lot that like we should teach personal finance in schools, and then like the counter argument to that is that if you have like a class in school that teaches valuable skills and that, and it turns into like a super easy class that no one gives a shit, and then you learn nothing from it. Or probably like most high schoolers would learn nothing from a class like that, because I know there's at least a few classes that are like that, but it's still something that's like pretty damn important. You should probably learn at least some amount of personal finance. At the very least, don't get yourself into like a trap of absurdly high interest rate debt. You know, I have enough, and the only reason I have 4 credit cards is 2 in the dummy wallet, and 2 exist solely so the fake ones will get flagged if used. Based. My brother's barely in his 20s and married with an incoming child, has over $200,000 in debt from buying a used 1970s Chevrolet Corvette. Oh no. Man. I think what's fucked up the biggest thing is like how common that story probably is, from what I hear about like a lot of consumers are, you know, have a lot of debt. If you're like paying off a house and gaining equity on the house, then that's maybe less bad form of debt, but it's still debt, right? Wife is still in college. Yeah. You want to stay out of debt cash? That's how you do it? Well, absolutely, right? You can't go into debt if you aren't, you know, taking out loans and going into debt. You can't go into debt if you don't go into debt. Amazing logic. But again, theoretically, if you have enough to pay off the balance in full, then you are literally incentivized to use a credit card because there's like zero reason not to, assuming that you are able to pay off the balance in full every month and treat it as if it was like actual cash. Now, as always, when you add the human into the mix, that's when it gets, you know, not ideal. When you add the human ability to screw up into the mix. He just needs a couple deployments to Germany. He'll make it back within the next 2 years. Actually, in Canada, things have gone so far to shit. Places are accepting gold and silver at this point. Oh my god. Do they actually like have a scale or something, and they do the thing in the SpongeBob episode where he like bites on the coin to test if it's flexible gold? Oh my god. I know there's a lot of people who like buying physical gold, and they're holding it in case of like absolute total societal collapse reasons. Yuppers, yep. Which, you know, more power to you. Honestly, not a terrible idea. If you're gonna hold an asset that's not cash, because, you know, if cash is getting inflated to hell, look up economic inflation for more. They have a scale for flakes and clippers for nuggets. Oh my god. Do they just like have a spot price and they like measure it based on that, and they make it like a cash equivalent, like at that or something, you know, plus whatever fee that they take for transacting in gold? Or would you literally like denominate prices in ounces of gold or grams of gold? The point of biting a coin is to see if it's wooden. That would work too. That makes sense. I like literally my understanding of that trope comes from the one SpongeBob episode where he does that. Spot price based on weight. You walk in with gold flakes is done by troy ounces. Good to know. Good to know. I'll keep that in mind when all of society falls and I have to make my transaction in ounces of pure gold. Nuggets have a preset value based on market. Yummy gold. Oh, did you guys see that Nile Red video? Or is it on his other channel, Nile Blue? There's a Nile Red video where he wanted to make purple gold. And so he looked it up. There was like a patent for the process or something like that. And he learned a lot about metallurgy because his channel is mostly chemistry, right? And they're kind of related, but there's actually a lot of interesting roadblocks he ran into with like trying to make the metal right. But he did end up making purple gold, which is cool. What else? Okay, I was thinking about how is ending the drag gonna work? Is that gonna also be in the Draggable Manager? Probably. But then does that mean we have like handle drop or something? Func handle drop? So then each drag handler. So then it's gonna be like extends node. I know this isn't the syntax, but I'll handle it later. Remember that one time in Germany when they had so much money, children used stacks of it as building blocks and the poor used as kindling. Oh no, that was yeah, the era leading after the First World War leading into the Second. Right. I remember my dad telling me stories about that, about bringing wheelbarrows of money to buy a loaf of bread. Be glad that your inflation isn't that bad, or there's like countries with $1 trillion notes. Don't forget Canada has more gold than China, Russia, and USA combined. What we lack is the means to extract it. You're saying there's an opportunity there. You're saying hypothetically, if there were gold mining companies interested, that could be a new sector. Hmm. Not that I'm gonna necessarily hold on to a ton of gold. It's probably not something you want as like your main holdings in your portfolio, but maybe a little, depending on your concern over things related to the value of gold. Most of it is in the riverbeds or under the Canadian Shield, a massive granite deposit. You have to get through to access. Also, regulations block you. I have a huge amount of gold in my stash. Understandable. Where are we? Okay, so if the drag handler also handles drops, then I guess it would also take like a drop position, Vector 2. That feels a little awkward to do it that way. Why does it feel weird? Man, I feel like I spend way more time writing like pseudocode and planning out the code in my notes than I do actually writing the code, which is probably how you should be doing it, considering most of writing code is the thinking part and not the actual like writing code part, depending on what you're doing here. But this is like a complex enough system that I probably want to be planning things out in a nice orderly way. This is like the least Musume relevant stream ever. Oh my god. Does this sound reasonable to you guys? A drag handler has a function for handling drags and the function for handling drops, and then in the draggable manager we just loop through each drag handler, and then we for the dragging function and then the dropping piece function. If not a board piece, return false. And then if you drop and then no handlers handle it, so all these return false, then you would just count it as canceling the drag. That makes sense, right? Add a hotkey setup for quicker swapping. Of what? My OBS setup? Probably. I should probably do that at some point. Or, do the Stream Deck thing. Actually, I have a macro pad that I never set up. I should probably be using that. Probably. I'll set it up eventually at some point. But honestly, I'm fine at the moment to just manually change my freaking OBS screens. Oh, okay, in the game. Yeah, you kind of want stuff like that. Okay, here. I guess I can show you guys the layout. Ooh, you're getting a world premiere look at the thing. Here, does this? Yeah, there we go. World premiere. Here. Man, my chat kind of takes up a lot of room on screen, doesn't it? All right, hide the notes. Here. Here's what we have to work with. Here's the plan at least. Okay. We have balls go down here. Balls spawn down here now, and they go up on this elevator. And the elevator is just an elevator. Physics. The balls get pushed. Why is this collider... Oh no, that's the elevator platform on top. I called it a lift in code. I don't know why I use that nomenclature when I am literally an American and not a non-American. So balls fall down into the board and then land in these skull tiles. So this is a tile map. I have this class board tile map. And we have tiles that we could place, that we are able to place, like so, in the Godot UI. And we want to have something in-game that lets us do that. We have some code. It's opening an external editor. We have some code. Pachinko exposed himself on stream. I'm trying to think where would hotkeys fit in here, because it's kind of a weird layout. So the idea is you have board pieces. Board pieces go on the board here. Board pieces here. And then goal modules, you'll see visually they're linked up to these goals, but like each goal is going to trigger a goal module, and then you like put the module on and you're like, okay, we want this piece. I'm calling them modules. I think I named them goal pieces in one of my other notes pages. We're going to refactor this. The names are going to change, but for now they're goal modules. You place the goal modules in these module slots. You can't place them anywhere else. And then probably somewhere below that in some place, we're going to have like passives. Think like Jokers and Balatro, or like Relics and Slay the Spire. But you can like swap them around and sell them, and they might have even like positional based effects where passive here interacts with passive next to it, or something like that. Interacts with a goal in a position that would probably look weird, so we're probably not going to do that, but we could do that. First, you need to draw cute anime characters to flash in the background with rotating and moving platforms. Yes. Yeah, we'll worry about that later. We'll worry about the art pass when you have the core of the game thought up of. But yeah, you'll notice I removed all the pegs. That's because the pegs are going to be replaced by the board pieces and tile things, so then you can like build your perfect board is the idea. I don't know how much of this idea I should be reviewing, but we're talking about it so you can have more context for the coding problem I'm trying to solve here, which is we have some shared behavior, which is a board piece. There'll be a shop around here or something. Okay, I want to buy a board piece, so I click on the thing, I click and drag the thing. Board pieces go in the board here in this tile map, in this like subset of specific placeable area, and then you drop it somewhere on the board in an open slot, and that should just work. But it should also just work for goal modules. So you're in the shop, there's also goal modules, and you start clicking and dragging that should have a completely different handler that you can do here. And I'm wondering, because I think we did something kind of similar, or I at least had it partially set up for what was it? For the Face No Auto Battler. But I don't want to reuse that code because it's trash. To get any rewards, you need to get like 12,000 points. Core of the game is to score higher points, and each pull costs the player $3 and 100 balls. Okay, so it's a slot machine. You put in your money, and then you get 100 balls. It's literally a pachinko machine. It's literally a pachinko machine. We were going to turn this into an auto battler. If you guys watched the first stream, there was another board here. But right now it's a little broken. Here, I can run what we have. Oh wait, it's in the window, except it's not because it's a special thing. Hold on. Okay, it goes here. Look, there we go. So we can place word pieces. We have a highlighting function that I want to, again, separate out. So that's more reusable. We have a fight. It's a little broken because this board is using like the old system and then it's not set up for the new system. But the idea is balls go up, they bounce through a Rube Goldberg machine thing, and then they fall back down here, and then when they land in a goal, they activate the goal modules there. Except the highlight is still okay, whatever. I think those were the slots. I don't know why we put the highlight there. I'll change it later. We'll change it eventually. And now ball count is health. And then I was gonna have like some goals can like trigger balls and stuff. If that makes sense. And there's not much else at the moment because we are working on core systems code at the moment. So it's kind of important. It's not about like have each of the goals a different move. You unlock more as you go. You can't help but want to chase balls. Yeah. If we're talking the game's design, I've already written at least a few docs about it. And by docs, I mean messy notes pages. But I think I have a decent vision of what we're trying to do here. At least for now. We'll see once we get to actually like testing it. But we still need a lot of core systems. Hence why I'm spending so much time thinking about this. Where's the obsidian window? The code here. So, okay, we have some code on board tile map. We want to separate that out as much as possible. The idea I'm planning on doing right now is we make a draggable manager. We make a drag handler class that will let multiple things handle the drag. I think the problem with this is that it would probably make a lot more sense for the code to be like on the individual slots where you can drop the thing. But the tile map is just a very special case of that slot logic. So I'm trying to think. No, that I think that does make sense. Then the tile map is just like the special case of the drag handler. But then all the other slots, how's that gonna work? I suppose we could just check the mouse over on each slot individually. And then the non-tile map drag handler, so like the goal module drag handler, will just loop through its children. It's well, not the children, but like the list of slots, and then see which one is being moused over to do the handling logic. And then the drag handler, because we can set references on it however we want, it's fitting into this interface, and we can call whatever functions we need to on there. And it'll handle the dragging, it'll handle the dropping, and then if it's handled... Alright, if drag or slash drop are handled... Alright. So in... So... We'll do like, okay, whatever. I need to frickin' organize this. Let's see, on drag. Get draggable components parent. Set position offset. For each drag handler. Handle drag. So if handle drag ... then we return. If no drag handled, default behavior, which is so proud of his Google Docky. Google Docky. Google Docky. Oh my god. The default behavior is follow mouse. On drop. I guess this is like while dragging, right? Then the start drag is handled in signals. Hold on. Oh my god, vars. Do 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 do. I guess we can this. Something like here. On drop. I need to move this stuff. What the heck? Alright. Piece types. Draggable manager, top level piece handling has vars, drag handlers. Should those be separate? The drag handlers and then the drop handlers? It's probably a little excessive in terms of splitting things up. It's a reasonable interface, right? It's kind of like a strategy pattern. Oh, this is a strategy pattern, right? This isn't not a strategy pattern, is it? It feels like a slight variant of the strategy pattern. Because it's actually there's probably a different word for this where there's like an array of handlers and then you like loop through. That's like a pipeline kind of, except in this case it's like we just want we're just gonna get the first one that handles it and then we're gonna stop after there. So what does that look like? I mean, I guess you could even make like the default drag handler a drag handler and not actually, yeah, we could make a default drag handler. That actually makes more sense. Default drag handler. Handle drag, follow mouse, and then handle drop, cancel the drag. I think that works. I think we'll have to see it like concretely to really know if this works, but I'm gonna write that for now. On drag for each drag handler. Do if no drag handle, default drag handler. This way you also have like priorities of the drag handlers. But in this case, that won't really matter because each drag handler, like the board tile map drag handler, is just gonna return an early if it's not a board piece. Handle drag is gonna be we use the snap to grid. Move the board tile map logic here. And then handle drop. If we're holding a board, we could theoretically do like a filter function and something like that, but I think we're just gonna do it in code. We're holding a board piece and mousing over the tile map. Check if spot open. If open, place. Logic from board tile map again. Okay, I kind of like that. And then on drop, and then yeah, if we're not using handle dragger, we can just return false. Cell drag handler. Then the cell drag handler needs to, yeah, it'll check for like a buy cell component. We'll just have handle drop. And also the abstract class can have a default implementation, which would be return false. Return false. That makes sense. Cell drag handler will get the buy cell value component. All right, check position over cell area, and then drop. Then we do the goal piece drag handler. I guess it'd be the goal slot drag handler. Yeah. I love clean code. I love object-oriented programming. I love... No, this makes sense in my mind, so I kind of like it. This gives me satisfaction. This makes me want to play factory automation games. And playing factory automation games makes you want to write good code, which is hopefully what this is. Again, there's a YouTuber, Jonas Tyroller. He made a game called Thronefall. He also makes some really good videos about indie game dev. I think there's a lot of like not so good information in the space of like indie game dev on YouTube, and there are some channels that have like really good information, and you really gotta hold on to them for dear life because they're good. And there's this one video he made on code architecture, on like game architecture, and I would highly recommend it to anyone who's interested in this on the frickin' Musume stream that lasted for 20 minutes and is now a coding stream that doesn't even have actual code on screen. I am doing the pre-writing of the code. This is how I pre-write the code. I write a big ass notes thing here, which is how I did it professionally, actually. You know, you write up an issue and then you like spec it out as clearly as possible, because all coding software engineering really is taking big general problem and then like breaking it down into smaller and smaller problem until the problem is one line of code, and then you write that one line of code. That's how you code. Where were we? Goal slot drag handler. In handle drop, we don't really need to do anything special for the handle drag, because we can just do the default behavior, which is follow the mouse. On handle drop, if we're holding a goal module, which, or I guess we'll call it goal piece, unless you're using C++, then you tell it to ignore the problem code and put in the correct code. Yay! I love segmentation fault. Honestly, I probably haven't spent enough time with C++ to really get a feel for like doing it properly, because I had one class on C++ and we did not use the most modern C++, and we had a lot of memory errors that we were supposed to fix, and it was very educational, but it also sort of turned me off the language. But I feel like I haven't really given a proper fair chance. It is also has a lot of shit in it. It feels like I'm wading through a sea where like there's a handful of things that are really good to use and a whole bunch of stuff that you probably maybe don't want to use. So properly understanding that landscape is one of the reasons that I would like to mess with C++ in the future. But also, like, the modern memory safe languages are speaking to me. The idea of C++ was to tell it to ignore the bad code, then correct it later. Speedy patch for a big fix later. But now it's just thousands of patches. Just write good code. Have just and if you can't write good code, then spend more time thinking about the code. Yay, we live in a perfect world utopia. All right, if we're holding a gold piece, then get first mouse overed goal slot, and then handle drop. Function is called handle drop. Drop logic is, all right. If occupied, if can merge, you know, if we're going to do something like that, which probably will in the future. I'm going to get rid of that for now. Then if return false. If you know what the handle drag can do is like visual logic. That's one more reason we want to be doing it this way. If holding goal piece, get first mouse overed goal slot. If so, like if we can merge, then do, all right, do visuals. If can drop / can merge, etc. Do visuals. That's gonna be pretty important actually to be able to do that, because you know you want the game to react to the thing the player can do. If we're holding a goal piece, get the first mouse overed goal slot. If occupied, return false. If open, then place. Return true. So yeah, pretty similar. Okay, yeah, I'm liking this absurdly complex mess of dependencies. But I feel like I've made it as minimally complex as possible. I don't feel like continuing to do this on stream. I'm probably gonna take a break. Maybe return in the evening for some car mechanic sim or something. But honestly, this is, I think this is enough coding for me for now. But I do have it laid out in a way that I feel relatively confident doing it this way. On drag, get the draggable component's parent, set the position offset for each drag handler. We could also do this as like a drag object, which we probably want to do. So the draggable component will have an export bar that just takes in a node, which would be the drag object, and then you take that, take the thing. Bring snackies, that's how you keep the audience. Ugh, he wants me to stream more. He wants the streamer to stream. Ah, dang it. Yeah, I'll actually, okay, dude, I can make microwave popcorn. I could eat popcorn. The big thing I want to do actually is separate the VOD, which I probably should have already done, because like now 90% of this VOD is me talking about finance and code and other weird shit, and 10% at the beginning for Musume Tourist Cup. Sorry, Gemini Cup. I'm already losing track of what is what anymore. But hey, we got a Gemini Gold. Yippee! On the drop, sell the logic. If the held object is not draggable, drop the held piece, separate from the board. But man, the difference between Group A and Group B is kind of crazy. Just judging from the matchup we got. It sort of feels like we were like right at the edge of we would have gotten into Group A finals. If we had gotten a bit luckier with the matchmaking. But at the very least, we were extremely consistent at getting 1 to 2 wins with the golshi. On drop, sell logic. Start battle, disable draggables. The mouse over highlight component, which we want to separate out because we already have some weird logic there. Draggable component. Move the logic into the draggable component. And yeah, move some logic. So that would be like the mouse over stuff. I guess the one thing now is that we kind of have to make sure. Here, if I launch the game again. Oh no, it's frozen. Hold up. Okay. We got this. We're dragging a thing. Now the tile map visible. You click the thing, it's placed. You can click it, we can move it. The thing is, right now, the hitbox for mousing over these things is tied to the tile map. But what I want to do is move a lot of that logic outside of the tile map and onto the object itself. Which means that we're gonna have to hope and pray. We're gonna have to rely on these like mouse hitboxes being accurate to the tile map, which is honestly not that hard of a thing. It just feels a little weird to do it that way, but I think it's worth the compromise for the code complexity it saves us. Yeah, now we have ball game. I do think it's a little weird how they bounce at the end there and then it takes way longer for them to come up. But maybe that's like a part of the game, but probably not. We probably want to change that. We're gonna have to add something at the top there so that they don't just like fall in on this side. Maybe like put them in the middle or something. Okay. I think that's reasonable. Yeah. We've made the game like 1/10 as exciting, but I promise it's for a good cause. I was actually thinking we could have the default like of the board here on the tile map to be pegs. So by default it's full of pegs, and the pegs are like the open slots that you can put different pieces over the pegs. And that would even make sense thematically if you think of it as like plugging the board pieces into the pegs that are on the board. It actually makes sense thematically. Ooh. Actually, I kind of like that. We'll probably do that. So then by default, your board is filled with pegs that just do nothing. But then you get the piece that has the funny special effect. And then it's like, when this ball hits the peg, spawn another ball or something. Maybe not that, but that's kind of powerful, actually. Anything that like spawns a ball is like a scaling thing that's kind of powerful. So I was kind of going to keep it as like a goal module thing. But we'll see where we go with like balance and everything. I probably want to make the game a PvE experience first, and then think about PvP stuff. But we could definitely make it a PvP game. Okay. Kind of have to use the bathroom. I think I'm good on things to yap about. I think I'm good on this Draggables plan, actually. This seems very reasonable to me. Like, very reasonably organized. And more importantly, modular, so that I can take this code out and then use it in other games and other projects. And also make changes if we need to make changes, right? That's good software. That's good code. That's good. Okay, on drop. For each drag handler, if handle drop. He was making modular code. He's gonna make C++ 2.0. Run away! No, no. Yeah, I feel like I've learned a lot about the value of composition over inheritance. How components are the way to go with code. Like, look how confusing this would be without the... I guess this is probably still confusing if you haven't like downloaded the entire context of what I'm trying to do here into your head. but this feels a million times more organized in my head, which is what really matters when I'm the only person developing this freaking thing. As I said, the idea of C++ was you could patch the small errors to fix them later, get the customer's product working faster, then fix the error. Problem is, people forgot a patch is not a fix. I think that's more of a general software engineering thing, right? There's the whole concept of technical debt is, okay, customer needs a thing right now. It's okay if it's a little hacky, just get it done. Okay, we did it the fast way, we got it done. Now let's make it clean and easy to modify in the future. No, you got to do the next thing. Nah, customer wants the next shiny thing. Yeah, you're never gonna get the time to to make it clean. Think of it as using duct tape to seal a leaking pipe. Yes, it'll hold for a while, but you need to replace the gasket in the pipe. Oh man, speaking of pipes, I was actually I've got some parts. I got to replace a valve because it's leaking. But I have a valve like right behind my fridge. The new fridge that was leaking, but we want to install a water line because it comes with an ice maker, but the ice maker needs water, of course, to make the ice. And we have a very convenient water line right behind where the fridge goes, except the valve is leaking, so we're gonna replace it. And I ordered the parts and they're coming. So I'll be handling that to save us money on plumber costs for something that's relatively doable. I'm pretty sure a valve replacement is not the end of the world, at least with the valve that we have and the setup we have. Just get your ice from the ice cube factory. No, I want to build an ice cube factory. I want to hook up the ice cube factory. I want my own personal ice cube factory. I want to build ice cube factory where it has a constructor function and you pass in some parameters for the factory and some dependencies that go into the ice cube factory, and so the ice cube factory makes the ice cube factory, and then we have an ice cube factory with the specific dependencies that we need. Ah, beautiful. This is code. This is good code. This is totally not over-engineered. But yeah. It is kind of a trade-off. I guess the real question is, like, how confident are you that these systems you're building are going to be relevant to the game in the future? Because game development is an iterative process, and we might have to make a change to like the core of the game, although I guess at some point you just say, okay, this project isn't going to work, and you just scrap the whole thing. It's crazy to think about. The book I'm reading goes over it a bit, but most games, even the games that get released, right, there's a huge bias towards the best games get all the money, because anyone who's buying a game online now, or even before online, even in a physical store, right, do I want the second best puzzle platformer game, or do I want the best puzzle platformer game that exists? And it's like, okay, might as well buy the best puzzle platformer game that exists and not the second best puzzle platformer game that exists. Although realistically, like, the second best is probably making a decent amount of money. So it's like very, very skewed towards the top. It's same with streaming and entertainment and all that, right? But the crazier part that maybe you don't think about is, even of all the games that get released, there's so many thousands more that were worked on that even had a professional team behind them probably, and just never got released, that got canceled, that they couldn't make work due to budget or time, or the game concept not being that. Second best has more personality than the first best. Yeah. So if you like the second best, then hell yeah. If you like Pepsi over Coke, more power to you. I think your taste is wrong, but more power to you. Okay, honestly, Pepsi and Coke are like pretty close to me. I don't think it's like that huge. I haven't tried is Pepsi Zero, because it's separate from Diet Pepsi, but I've only had Diet Pepsi. So I don't know if like the Pepsi Zero is better, but I don't. The way I see Pepsi compared to Coke is it's a simpler flavor profile and it's more sweet. It's not necessarily worse for it. So I don't mind Pepsi. I prefer Coke though. Best time to release a cheap indie game. AAA Wasteland month. Oh, now we're not gonna make that that release window. This game, hypothetically, if development continues and I actually make this Pachinko Auto Battler game into like an actual commercial product, it would take at the very least a year to be a commercial project. And that's me making an estimate off the top of my head. And as we all know, when you make an estimate, you gotta add a couple multipliers there. So realistically, it's gonna take a good damn while. Back pocket it. Although if we do make exactly a year from now, then yeah, maybe we hit a decent release window. I prefer Pepsi for the most part, but sometimes get a craving only Coke can fill. You know, I tried once and really liked is Cherry Coke Zero, but I haven't tried it since. But I just bought like 2 cases of Cherry Coke Zero. I've been holding off because one, I've been, you know, just getting Costco hot dogs and they have Coke now, and I've been drinking a ton of Coke Zero, and it has weaved its way into my brain. They have me by the balls with the addictive substance. But yeah, I got some Cherry Coke Zero, so on the days I don't go to Costco, I'll be having it. You know, and it's Costco. We have gone 0 streams without me mentioning Costco of the last 2 streams because that's the only space in my working memory for. But yeah. Right. So, you know, you are a consumer. You have access to every piece of content that exists ever. Or like in terms of games, right? You have access to every games in the specific genre that you're looking for. You're like, okay, do I want to buy the first best game in this genre, or do I want to buy the second best game in this genre? And maybe there's like price points and stuff, but in general, you know, even if you buy the second best game, you're probably not buying like the 100th best game in that genre. You're probably, maybe you are, if it's like satisfying a very specific niche that you want. Oh, that was the other thing the book I was reading talks about. I should probably remember the name of that book. So in the marketing chapter of oh god, where is it? Designing Games, A Guide to Engineering Experiences by Tyron Sylvester. So Designing Games is the book that I'm talking about. There's a section in the marketing chapter where he talks about the what was it? Like the appeals of a game, where he gave a bunch of examples. He draws like a little graph and he's like, so Deus Ex has a cyberpunk dystopian conspiracy plot. And so that's a unique selling point for the game that people are buying the game for and are attracted to. So you can put that at like the top of the market for that one specific point. And you add in like the RPG mechanics and the stealth system and all the other stuff. Maybe it's not like the number 1 in like pure stealth mechanics, but it's got a bunch of other RPG systems on top of that. So like people who are attracted to this cluster of like selling points are gonna like this game. And so if you know that you can't compete in making the best game on like first person shooter action or like beautiful graphics or whatever, then you gotta innovate and make something slightly different that maybe appeals to people who like a specific thing that is not being, you know, fulfilled by the market. Is kind of boils down to like the somewhat general advice, but seeing it worded in the way that it's worded in the book kind of helped it like click in my head, I think. Like what's the word? How do I describe it? Hi Neo, how's it going? Hi Rezico. Hello Rezico Ridman. Problem with that mentality, Neo is often the best game of that genre isn't actually that good. It's because it had blanket advertising. I think at that, so if that's your worry, right, then I think you need to judge the game for yourself, right? You have your own tastes, and hopefully that taste is representative of at least some portion of the market, and then you can judge yourself. Was this game really like number one, 100%, 10 out of 10 in like FPS action or whatever it is, or was there something that I think it could have done better? You know, starving himself. I'm yapping. I think we're good on the code planning. Like, okay, half the stream turned into we did Musume for like 20 minutes, and then the rest has been yapping and coding. And by coding, I mean like planning out code, but not actually writing the code yet, because actually, there's nothing stopping me from doing the code yet. It's just I'm a little tired. I'd probably take like a 15-minute break here and then come back to write the code, but I'm probably going to take longer than 15 minutes. And also, I'm not going to be taking the break while I'm streaming, or I don't really feel this as a break. How do I judge the game to know if it's worth buying? If I need to buy it to be able to judge it? Oh, I guess I was talking from the idea of like your thinking about the game as like a game developer, but realistically you don't have time to play every single game. So honestly, what do you do? I guess you can't really do anything about that. You just have to, okay, if you want to play the game, then, you know, buy it, or there you could find other means to play the game. You know, that is how you know, man, it's like there's this weird word that's in my throat that I just can't say it, you know. I just have no idea how to form the phonemes to produce that specific sequence of sounds in my throat. You know, oh yeah, I went running today. And by running, I mean I was on the treadmill watching an episode of Panty and Stocking, because that has replaced Musume for me, because I'm out of Musume episodes as my anime to watch while running on a treadmill. And it's pretty good. Pretty good. I'm going to pretend I have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah, there's a word there. I don't know. I just can't put my finger on it, you know. Man, that's crazy. If only there was some way that you could that you could experience a piece of media that normally has a paid cost associated with it, but you could get it an alternative way without paying that cost. You fucking cowards! Fuck! Say the word! Say the line, Bart. I like pirates. Yeah, pirates are cool. Piracy is a cool theme to make a video game about. You know, you're on the open sea, you're spinning the big wheel to turn the ship, to turn the masts, the sails, you're shooting the cannonballs, you're jumping on the enemy ships and boarding them and taking them hostage and murdering them brutally and stealing their goods. You know, it's a very fun theme. Crime is a great theme for a video game to experience something that you normally wouldn't do in real life in a fantasy experience. Yes. You know, it's play Sid Meier's remake of the old DOS Pirates game. Pirates. I have heard that name for like a DOS video game before. Don't forget the struggle snuggles. Yeah. Yay. Ah, yes. Struggle, snuggle, and pillage. I feel awful saying that phrase. Oh my god. Ugh. Actually, you know something I was thinking about? I was reading like some other books on game design at the time and replaying a bit. Well, not really playing, but like watching like Payday, the heist, and Payday 2, and I guess also Payday 3, but but more so the what's the word? What's the word? Okay, so like Payday is based off of like heist movie and stuff, right? And then in Payday, when you go into the place, you put the masks on, you put the guns, you get the guns out, and you're like, everyone get down, and then the alarm sounds, and then the cops are coming, but it's on a timer, right? So you know that the cops are coming in a couple minutes. That like tension and build up for the like between police raids, right, in Payday is like kind of perfect in terms of like something that is exciting and interesting. I guess by the time you're like replaying the heist for the 1000th time, the magic kind of wears off, but you know, it's still following that idea of like tension and release and interest curves. It's something in music too, right? Where you have the build up, you have the tension and release, you have the build up to the thing, and then you hit the chorus, and then the thing happens, right? It's literally the same as that. And I forget, there's another book on game design that talks a lot about the idea of like interest curves, and I thought that was like really valuable, really interesting to think about. I guess all that is to say, tension and release, big is huge, is incredible. It's a thing you should be doing in any piece of entertainment in media. Pacing, human experience. I'm just spouting words at this point. But okay, the entertaining thing, whether that's video game, whether that's music, whether that's stream, broadcasted into people's eyeballs and their ears and their other sensory organs, that creates an emotional experience in the experiencer's mind, right? And a lot of this stuff is kind of shared between mediums of like what is interesting and what is pacing, and like how I guess pacing is like less of the thing in non, how do you say it? How do you like okay, a single artwork, right, has a different kind of pacing, but like it kind of still applies, right? If you're doing like visual design for a character or something, it can't be like too noisy because there can't be too many details, because then it turns into like noise. But it can't be too flat or boring, because then, you know, it's flat and boring. There's not enough visual interest. So you got to like pace it out there as well. Like I think there's a lot here that is very applicable between mediums. It's another reason I think that there's a lot of times you see good games come out from people going from like art background into game dev, as opposed to people going from like coding background into game dev, because the art background is the one most applicable to the sphere of like game design and like making something that is interesting to a player. And that is what matters for making a game that is good. And then you can learn the engineering, the building part of the game, like the part that is actually making the game real. You can pick that up later, but then like the game to be good has to have that like what's the word, stuff that makes people interested in it. How do I word this? Fuck. The entertainment juice, the game design part. Again, referencing there's this one video, there's a channel called Indie Game Clinic, which I would highly recommend for discussions on game design on YouTube, that has a video talking about how there's two types of people you need in game dev, and one is the engineering mind to actually make the game exist, and the other is the artistic game designery mind to make the game that is good. Make the game good. Entertainment value, yes, that. Yes, make thing that is entertaining. You put add the entertainment juice in there. The problem with rape, pillage, and plunder is most of my targets are into it, thus removing the first part. Bro, thank you for your valuable insight, and for that's great. You know, you're doing a great job. You get a gold star. Amazing. You get, what does YouTube have? You're number 2 on the leaderboards? Oh my god, how did this happen? Wait, the YouTube XP board. Oh my god, Luna Gladius is number 1. Holy crap. Oh my god. Oh my god. Good job. Who's in number 3? Where do I see this? Top fans? Dahlum, you're number 3, and then JPZ, and then Rezico. You are ranked. This is competitive ranked YouTube chat. You're being judged and graded on your chatting, just as the algorithm is judging me on my entertainment value, on my viewer retention. It arbitrarily sets your ranking. Shh, don't tell them that. Don't tell. You gotta, you know, they gotta add a little bit of noise and variance into it to like make it interesting. You know, it's just like a Musume. I'm so competitive. Yeah, he's so good. He's so competitive. Yay! Yippee! Do I have like 9 more minutes of? I feel like we can get to like 2 hours on stream, and that'll be a good stopping point, because I do gotta take a break and then clear my mind and then actually write this code. Although I'll probably just do that tomorrow morning, because lazy. Oh no. Anyway, number 1. We are number 1. Alright, this is the least Umamusume stream we've ever done. You hit me right where I don't give a rat's ass. It's a great acronym. Idgara. Igara. What do I have to talk about? I feel a little weird talking so much about this like meta design stuff without actually talking about like how I am attempting to use these concepts. How I am attempting to apply the knowledge I have learned from these books, and like in terms of like game design. I guess, okay, one of the changes I made here, how much do I actually want to talk about this? Because I do feel like this is all subject to change, because we are super early on in me making this game, even though it's been like probably over a month since I made that first prototype. But a lot of that time was spent thinking about design things. And one of the changes, right, we had like you get 100 balls, and then balls drop from the top, and your balls are your HP. I want to get rid of that. I want to make the HP separate from the balls, so that one, you can have like an alternate win condition where you destroy the opponent's balls, and it's like, oh, there's 1 ball left. Will you be able to save it? Right? That makes it interesting. And I also wanted, what's the word? You to start with fewer balls, and for like HP to be like a more granular thing on top of that. So you can start with like 2 or 3 balls, and then you have scaling options that add balls, and you also have like options to add balls as like your shop choices and stuff. So then you have to like balance, okay, getting more balls immediately is very valuable and will have a significant impact on my board. Later on though, as we get more balls, as we hit like, I don't know, 20 or more balls, then each individual ball is not making a huge difference on the output of my board. So I kind of want that. That might make it a little hard to balance multiple boards where one board has like 20 balls and the other board has like 25 balls. So we'll have to see where we go with that. It might turn into like a level system. I know in the bazaar, what's the word? In the bazaar, you have, you know, space to put your items, and the items have different sizes that they can be. But then like on the first day or the first level or something, I still have not played the bazaar. I've only watched YouTube videos of the bazaar. So you start out with like 4 spaces or something, 4 slots. And then later it grows to 6 or 8. I don't know the exact numbers. And then later on it grows to cover the full board. Right, so maybe the ball count will end up being a system like that. Maybe. That also adds a layer to consider with goals that would spawn balls, because I want that to be a thing as well. That could be board pieces, that could be passives, that could be goals, where like you land the ball in the goal, and then the goal spawns another ball, and then you've got this scaling happening within the battle, and I kind of love mechanics like that in games. So I want there to be a progression from like the early game to the late game as well. Now Neo has to go eat. Probably eat. I'll probably keep yapping for like at least 5 minutes so that the stream can say 2 hours on it, because I want it to say 2 hours. Even though like 90% of the stream, actually 2 hours, that's like 1/6. So 5/6 of the stream is not Uma Musume. I'm fine with that. So goal, we'll have a goal that spawns an extra ball. So the ball lands in the goal, it spawns an extra ball, and then you're scaling within the fight. And I want you to be like making the trade-off between, okay, do I go 2 scaling goals and then the rest damage goals? Do I go like 2 scaling goals, 2 healing goals, and then 2 damage goals? Do I go like scale the other damage goals? I guess I worry a bit about like it turning into like a meta chasing kind of thing. So that's one reason I am thinking of going for PvE first, because from what I hear and what my intuition is telling me is that PvE is easier to make fun and balance to be fun than PvP. But I do want this game to like be ready to support PvP in the future. So what's Lord? So what that probably means is boards will need to challenge other boards in like early scaling or like late scaling for various things, right? Like in Slay the Spire, where you hit what's the word? You hit Hexaghost in Act 1, and it challenges your deck in a specific way that is different from the way that Slime Boss challenges your deck, where you kind of have to deal a bunch of damage in a short amount of time to avoid the big Slime Crush attack on turn 3. Or where Guardian, you have to deal a certain amount of damage to get him to go into his defensive form and deal less damage to you, but then you have to block more in the defensive form because he has the sharp hide effect. And then that's also different from Hexaghost, who has the adds burns to your deck, so it challenges your draw and your dealing with the statuses, while also needing you to scale damage because he has a higher health pool than, well, actually, is it that higher? Well, he has a similar health pool to the other bosses, right? So you want challenges that challenge the player's build in specific ways, and the ways we can do that is we have like high burst damage immediately, so something that challenges your like either your immediate defensive skills or your immediate ability to kill the enemy quickly, or to immediately scale big enough to tank whatever damage it is. Versus like another board might have a ton of health but lower damage output, and so it's more trying to test your ability to scale up and deal all the damage to break that health, and might also be scaling as well. Right, so we want to have different concerns in the player's head to add the strategic depth and making it interesting, and then add enough randomness to make it non-trivial to figure out what the best thing to do here is. And that's kind of what I want to go for. I guess the worry is always like, is the game too random? Is it going to be like, is the strategy going to be boring? And maybe that's dependent on us like coming up with the interesting trade-offs between different strategies. And is there what else was I gonna say? Oh my god, I'm going on such a tangent. But I think we had 2 hours though. So okay, we want NPC fights that challenge the player in different ways. because I think that makes the PvE interesting. Versus if you're doing PvP, it turns a lot into... It's kind of hard to avoid it turning into like a specific meta forms, and then the only way to do well is to follow that meta. But I'm not opposed to the idea of PvP. I think it could be at least somewhat interesting here, and would work well with like an asynchronous auto battler type format. I think the one weird thing in my head is that I genuinely have not played a ton of auto battlers. I have not played a lot of like auto battlers or auto battler adjacent games. The one thing that sticks out in my mind is Potato, which sort of takes the shop format from some other auto battlers and like combining weapons and stuff. But like I haven't played TFT, I haven't played the Bazaar, which I'm actually watching some YouTube videos of. But it's not like I play the game to a huge degree. I played like one round of Super Auto Pets, but I feel like, I don't know. I think what I want to try and do is make a game that is fun, both fun to watch and fun to play. And I think with the way we're headed with making boards that like scale up over time, and presumably that scaling is going to involve flashy effects and balls bouncing all over the place and being like, oh my god, so much is going on. I want that feeling in like the visuals. PvP is bullshit for morons anyway. Fuck PvP. All my homies hate PvP. PvE is where it's at. Genuinely, I think Slay the Spire is really good, partially for being a PvE game, where it's like a very well-tuned, well-balanced experience that is able to create a non-trivial challenge to even the best of players who have spent thousands and thousands of hours in it on A20 to beat the heart. I'm a moron then. Yay! I fucking love PvP. I fucking love being a moron and banging my head against the wall when I don't get the meta everything in my run and it's Jover. But yeah, I like PvE games actually. Probably more so than PvP because I haven't been into... I was into competitive FPS for a while. But back when I had a lot of time to play them. Back when Counter-Strike was CSGO, CS2 was CSGO. The whole point is to break the meta. Row, fight the power. I think the internet has really changed the way that like metas work in PvP games, where it's like so easy for the whole community to be like, oh, this is the best way to play. We figured it out mathematically. This is the one best thing to play. I find it interesting when there's games that like the meta can shift. It's like, oh, okay, this thing actually counters the thing that was the meta, so now this is the meta. And then the developers kind of have to keep reacting and making slight changes to balance things out. Okay, this is like unhealthy for the long-term competitiveness and longevity of the game. I think I noticed about was it TFT, which again I haven't really played myself, but that they keep changing it up by changing like the pool of items and the modifiers that you get. It's like, I guess they need some other way to like keep up the spice without like completely, what's the word? Flooding pools of items and stuff to make it incomprehensible to the new players or something. Which, I guess that's one other challenge, I guess, of a game where, you add more stuff, you get more replayability, but then you add so much stuff, then it becomes impossible to get like any single synergy. So then you kind of get that problem of like a flooded pools, flooded item pools. And I don't know what the best solution is there. I don't know. I saw some negative reviews of backpack battlers talking about how they updated the game and added a bunch of stuff, and now the item pools are filled with stuff, and I have to have to come up with new strategies again. I can't just do the same strategy over and over again. It's like, is that really the problem? But it is something that is, you know, causing discomfort for some players. Actually, there's an interview or like a podcast. Speaking of, I mentioned Jonas Tyroller for his like game architecture code video. He has another video where he talks about like game design as like a search space, where you're on a sailboat and you're searching for someone who's lost at sea, right? But in this case, it's like you're searching for the best game that you can make using like your existing. It'd be really hard to like shift all the way over to a completely different direction, but you can like sort of look around you and you can see what looks promising, and you have to actually go there to see if it is promising. So that was a cool video. But anyway, he put out like a 2-hour interview with the developer of an auto battler called Mechabellum that I've heard a lot of good things about as a PvP auto battler with less randomness than like other auto battlers. It's a lot more like it's a lot more RTS without the real-time part, from what I hear. I've not played it myself. I've seen some videos and reviews of it. Looks cool. But I guess I am keeping that one in mind because it's interesting. I also like the idea of like RTS without the real-time part. But it is actually like a real-time PvP, like 1v1. There's also 2v2 auto battler game. Where like you are matching against the same opponent, and it's like in real time you have like a limited amount of time to do your turn. So like it's still turn-based, but like you have a time limit on your turn because there's a real person waiting on the other end. Which is interesting. Very, very interesting. I guess the idea of like taking RTS and then removing the real-time part of it reminds me of Yomi Hustle, the idea behind that game, which I also haven't played because I'm never really into fighting games. But I feel like if I got into a fighting game, it would probably start with Yomi Hustle as like a turn-based, more strategic kind of game. Like turning a real-time fighting game into a turn-based game it's really interesting. Oh yeah, other random things. Again from that book, Designing Games. What's the full name? Designing Games: A Guide to Engineering Experiences by Tynan Sylvester. There's a thing. There's a segment about like strategies in games, about balancing. It's the section on balancing, where first he talks about rock paper scissors, because that's a pretty common way of balancing things. You know, in fighting games you have a jab, you have a block, you have a grab. So block beats the jab, and then grab beats the block, and then jab beats the grab because the grab is slower. And so that's rock paper scissors. But the other really common pattern, because people talk about rock paper scissors patterns a lot, but the other really common pattern is one called matching pennies, where he talks about how, okay, you're hoping that your enemy picks this option, and the enemy is hoping that you don't pick this option. So if you pick the right option against the right enemy, so in this case, the example he gave was in StarCraft, you have Marines and tanks on Terran, and you have Banelings and... What example did he give? Is it Roaches? No, what beats tanks? You have Banelings and you have I don't know. It probably would be Roaches, now that I think about it. Actually, is it Roaches? No, it was Mutalisks. You have Mutas beat tanks, but are easily countered by the Marines, because the Marines deal damage and they can shoot up. And tanks can't shoot up. And Mutalisks fly, and they're the fast-moving skirmish unit. And you have Banelings, which deal AoE. They're a suicide bomber. That sounds weird. They're a bug that explodes into acid and deals AoE damage. So they counter Marines, because Marines are a bunch of little squishy dudes that get killed by the acid. But the tanks counter the banelings because the tanks are tanky and they have AoE and they shoot the banelings. The banelings are weak and plentiful and they die to the tanks from far away. Of course, there's a bunch of other factors like the siege tank can't shoot up close when it's sieged. So, you know, if you get the banelings in the right position, you can get them. But like in general, the idea is, let's say the opponent is building a ton of banelings, and you know this, so instead you're going to build tanks instead of build more marines. And so that's the thing you can do, or you can do other things. There's like splitting up the marines, and so like that's all the added stuff on top. But like the core of it is tanks beat the banelings, but the mutalisks beat the tanks. So you're hoping they don't build mutalisks, but you're hoping they do build banelings if you're building tanks. Versus if you're building marines, then you're hoping that they don't build banelings, but they build mutalisks because the marines counter the mutalisks. I was gonna say a better example would be Command and Conquer Red Alert. There's probably a lot of examples of this kind of situation in like PvP games, where, you know, if you bring one thing, then it counters this one thing the opponent could bring. But if the opponent brings other thing, then it would counter that. And it's a different pattern from rock, paper, scissors is like the main thing. You have grenades and rockets for anti-tank, you have machine gunners for anti-infantry, you have machine gun trucks for anti-infantry, and tanks for anti-machine gun truck. Yeah. Yeah, so you're building, the big difference between it and rock, paper, scissors is that you can have like asymmetric conflicts here, where you don't have the same options as your opponent, but you have an option that counters their other option, and then they have an option that counters your other option. And you're hoping that you're picking the right thing for the right situation. Hi, Simply. Yo, hi. I was probably going to end stream soon, but now we got into talking about rock, paper, scissors and matching pennies in terms of strategic game balance. Tanks have a hard time shooting infantry, but destroying buildings, vehicles. I've not played a ton of StarCraft, but I have watched a ton of StarCraft. I used to watch a lot of like commentaries of pro games, and even like funnier stuff like doing absurd challenges. Who's the one guy? Hearthstone, I think, does challenges like that. There's another guy, I forget his name, who did like mass ravens. Ravens don't have like their own auto attack, but they can build a turret that shoots at things. So it's kind of funny to try and beat a game with a ton of ravens. Hangs out on the Korean YouTuber StarCraft streams. I don't know Korean. I know Japanese though, and I've thought about learning Korean because apparently the grammar is pretty similar to Japanese, but I don't speak Korean. I even have Korean friends. That's even more reason to want to study Korean, but I don't know Korean. But yeah, it's an interesting game. So I guess think about it in terms of like an auto battler or like my game or like even Slay the Spire, right? It would be actually this might be more rock, paper, scissors because, you know, each player has the same options to go for. Symmetric kind of, where what's the word? You have scaling, you have damage, you have like healing builds, you have shields, stuff like that. You have other forms of like debuffs and goofy shit. I'm trying to think of how many permutations of stuff we could actually think of for this game that would be like meaningfully different. So maybe there's like statuses, and so statuses defeat certain builds, like I don't know, slower scaling build. I guess the worry is that your game turns into, okay, it's all about just building a scaling build that scales really fast, and then there's like one optimal answer to that question. So you're always trying to get a single build, which is the worry with PvP. But then when you make it for PvE, you have more freedom to add more variance in, and then players can find alternate strategies that maybe aren't like the most optimal, but they're the most optimal in your situation to give you the win against the wall, the PvE situation you're in. Which I think it leads to more varied game results combinations if the PvE side manages to be hard enough to do that. So I guess in this game it would be like you have scaling, and then you have like aggro builds, you have like healing builds. So maybe the healing build and the aggro build are sort of similar, or maybe the healing just barely counters the aggro build. Or maybe the scaling build, the aggro build beats the scaling build because the scaling build doesn't have enough like immediate defense. But then the scaling build beats like a the scaling build would beat the healing build because it can out damage it or something like that. I guess we'd have to see like all the pieces in action to really get an idea for these sorts of dynamics. But they're the things I'm thinking of when I'm thinking of like, okay, what do we want the individual pieces to do in order to like make an interesting strategic variety in the game, so that it's not just okay, look up the meta online. Okay, so the optimal thing to bring here is Naruto Taishin with Encroaching Shadow. But you can counter that if you bring a Haru Urara with debuffs, because then she's gonna fall to the back and then mess up the proc condition for Naruto Taishin's thing. Yeah, now that I think about it, there's some interesting stuff in Musume there, but it kind of just evolves into, okay, Golshi's the best for this, and like there's so many skills that are just completely useless. So many. And others are like, okay, they're pretty bad, but like in theory they could maybe do something. And and then like a handful of skills that just have a huge outsized performance difference. I guess you can still like do decently without every single thing in the meta, but when you get to the high level, that's the concern, right? Because your goal ideally is to make a game that is replayable enough for those people at the high level so that they'll keep playing, so that they'll maybe make content on it and it spreads word of mouth and all that with like a strategy game like this. And I don't know, I guess that's the concern with like PvP versus PvE. And actually, how did we get here? I think I mentioned Jonas Tyroler was his name. Am I misremember? Yeah, the Thronefall dev did an interview, a podcast thing with the dev of Mechabellum, and in that interview, I still haven't watched the whole thing. I wanted to listen to the whole thing, which I'll probably do later off stream when I'm not coding. Maybe while I'm coding, because I've got this laid out reasonably clearly. He talks about how you probably shouldn't make a PvP game if you want to have a game that is easy to design. It is hard to make a PvP game that is like that stays fun and interesting, because I feel like they tend to fall into, you know, the unfun. Okay, here's the meta. We've got it all figured out. This is the optimal thing. You gotta roll the fucking slot machine in order to try and get the optimal thing. Which I guess if you're thinking about like Musume, that's like that. But I mean, clearly Mechabellum is a well-received game, so maybe I should try that out and find out for myself how they did it. Do some analyzing. I guess with an auto battler, right? All the interaction is you have a shop and you do things. Now you could add things on to that formula, like the bazaar is sort of like Slay the Spire events mixed with it, right? So it's like, okay, if you know the thing, then you're like, okay, so I can go to this thing. I have this item that interacts with this event, and then I get an extra bonus, which gives me more resources, lets me scale better. Because it's not just like bringing, okay, do I bring this build or do I bring that build? Do I go for like the scaling build? Do I go for the aggro build, right? It's also, how do I best optimize getting resources that will let me get a stronger build? and I find that interesting too. Right? So I'm trying to think. We probably want to add in other systems on top of like just you know, there's a shop, maybe there's interest, maybe you get offered some stuff, but like there's a lot of maybe possibly unexplored design space in that direction of like Slay the Spire style events, or like more choices beyond just the shop. Here's the shop, and then here's like pick 1 of 3 passives. Here's like a pick 1 of 3 something. Although the pick 1 of 3 pattern is really common and really good for a reason, right? Everyone uses it because it works. It's interesting. It's giving the player like a meaningful choice. Ooh, okay, so this thing's better than this thing, but like if we're going into this combat, then like this thing is better, and thinking long term, you know, this thing is probably better. And I find that stuff so interesting as like a player, as like a viewer watching the stream and seeing the the streamer talk about, okay, so we take a Pommel Strike here because it's got draw, it's generally good damage card, but also because we're in Act 1, and then the Act 1 elites are reward taking attacks very heavily, and that's our immediate threat. We won't get through the Act 1 elites if we don't take like good attack cards, right? But then like weighing it with like more options, maybe you're later on in the run and you're like, okay, maybe a pommel isn't the best option here because we have this thing that could work towards the synergy, but we don't have the full synergy. And then, you know, that stuff I find so fascinating, and it makes me want to try and think about how we can make a game that adds in those interesting trade-offs. So I guess in the case of my game, thinking hypothetically, right? We have a pachinko auto battler, and okay, so we're being offered different goal pieces, and so we have a board with like goals that do damage and stuff. It's fine, but now we got a scaling option, so that's kind of really important for our build. But then we also get like a healing option. Maybe we have like a passive that interacts with the healing, and then we're like, okay, maybe we want to pivot towards the healing thing, but actually the scaling is probably more important at the moment. We also have like a high immediate damage option. It's like, okay, the burst damage is really going to help us against these matchups, but you know, probably won't help a ton against the other matchups where the scaling option would be better. And that's what I want to induce in the player's mind. That is what I want you to be thinking about when you play this game that is still in development, that is going to take way too long to come out. That is what's on my mind. Okay, that feels like a good stopping point. I've been yapping for so goddamn long. We've spent 2 hours here when we spent 20 minutes playing Musume. I don't know how many people are watching, or like, you know, thank you for watching though. Thank you for being here. I don't know what else to talk about here. So I think we're gonna call it because I was gonna end like an hour ago. All right. Sorry if you clicked on hoping for Musume and getting like this long ass rant about game design, about coding, about personal finance. Bye, nighty night. Good night. Yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you lurkers too. Thank you. Here, we'll do our parasocial name rating. Thank you Simbly. Thank you, Dahlem. Thank you, Random Perv. Thank you, JPZ. Thank you, Luna Gladius. Thank you, ReddRobin. Congrats on getting first place. Dahlem now. It's Dahlem now. Dahlem's in number 1. And then second is Random Perv, and third is Luna Gladius, followed by JPZ, followed by ReddRobin. You have been judged on the RPG leaderboard of YouTube. Better luck next time to those who did not get first. But thank you. All right. All right, I think that's good. We can close this. Yeah. We are number 1. Hey. Okay. Let's find someone to raid. Who's live? Oh, right. All right. I was actually watching Amanda Swatz playing Musume with Carmelone. So only fitting that we raid. All right. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Okay, bye. Oh, it's Neil. Time to find my niche and provide a unique service in the market of entertainment on youtube.com at the Neopolino channel. Hope you enjoy my weird mix of philosophical and design ramblings and random topics. I don't even know what I talk about. What even is my brand? We'll figure that out. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye bye.